Welcome to Nature's Newsroom. My name is Maitri Sitharaman. I am joined today by Emmanuel Faber, who is, of course, one of the most prominent climate and corporate business activists at COP26. He is currently the chair of One Planet Business for Biodiversity and also a partner in sustainable agri-investment company Danone. You might also be very familiar with him as he was the man who led the sustainability drive for the company Danone, all the yogurts that you all use, and he was also the company's CEO and chair. Welcome, Emmanuel. Very, very welcome to the show. But the question for me at this point, the most important one, is that we've heard a lot of announcements about coal and its removal from our life and our usage plans. But that's all well and good. But you know that the world is moving more and more towards thinking about other forms of fuel, like biofuels. Is that going to create an enormous challenge going forward in terms of where the food industry stands versus our energy needs going forward?
Well, thanks for having me first, Maitri. It's an honor to be here and a pleasure. Yes, I think we need to be clear on the fact that there will be a conflict of land use, basically. And that's one of the reasons why I'm convinced that this transition is going to create inflation. We're not paying the true cost of food today already because the form of agriculture, intensive, subsidized, on the wrong things, are creating soil degradation, soil health topics all over the place, water drainage, which means that today we do not even replenish the soil and the ability for agriculture to continue, and agriculture is the first victim today of climate change. It's already a victim. So you're right that the two big verticals that we need to address is energy on one side and the food system on the other ones. The issue is on biofuels that they're connected through land use. And so we need to regulate that. All of the land that's going to be on biofuels needs to be contained within something that we have adopted as a food industry gradually, which is this concept of planetary diets. So how does biofuel allow the planetary diets, which is sustainable eating in a sustainable farming manner for the rest of the future? That's really the debate that needs to occur.
So how would you suggest we go about tackling this transformation, this transition we need within the food sector? How do we make it happen? And how do we make it happen in this decade or even in the medium term, to say the least?
Well, I think if you look at these two verticals, energy and food and land use, the magic with agriculture is that we know how to put carbon back into the soil again, which is very difficult with oil pits. Because carbon is about 60% of the organic matter. So if you want to replenish soil health and rebuild soil health, the best thing you can do is to make sure that you put carbon back into it. And the way to do this is to basically go for what we have called and started several years ago, regenerative agricultural practices, which is basically the point of this One Planet Business for Biodiversity coalition that we've created. Regenerative agriculture means no tillage, for instance. Make sure that you do not touch the soil, making sure the microbiome of the soil is living. So nature-based solutions, no entrants, as little as possible entrants, and bringing biodiversity from the wild into the fields. The missing link in regenerative agriculture today is the lack of diversity in the varieties, in the species that we're growing there. All of this is the solution for regenerative agriculture, which is the solution for planetary diets.
So that brings up an interesting question. There's so much work that needs to be done. You're a pioneer in driving agendas, but you also have to bring every stakeholder with you on that journey, whether it's your board, whether it's your shareholders, or whether it's the consumer who might end up paying a higher price. You've gone through this journey. It is a difficult one, as going by your experience. Can you run us through how a pioneer ends up getting what they need and what they want to achieve as a goal?
Yeah, I think there are three levels that I see to come from indeed some pioneer work into systemic change. The first is climate change. Climate change is now, there is not one CEO of a large food, retail, ag company that does not recognize that we have a business model issue. Maybe not publicly, but I can tell you privately they do. The reason why 25 super large companies, Nestle, Pepsi, Mondelez, Mars, but Ahold and Walmart and Microsoft and Google joined this biodiversity coalition is because they all recognize that we have a problem going forward. So that's the first thing. The thing becomes mainstream now, and climate change is happening right now, extreme weather conditions, that creates this change in the pace.
How do you convince your shareholders? Because at some point this is quarterly, right?
Absolutely. The second point is indeed the shareholders and the boards. What was missing were the metrics. We started a premiere, which was to create a carbon-adjusted earning per share. Yeah. Started a hugely interesting discussion with our shareholders, but at some point got lost with the board, activists, etc. The day you have the metrics, and that becomes not only something extra that we do, but the metrics that are audited, comparable, you start changing completely the conversation. So I'm hugely pleased that yesterday we had this announcement by the IFRS that they're putting together an international sustainability standard board. They have proposed a first prototype for climate, and actually today Europe is going to show the same in terms of their prototype for climate. So it means probably in, 12, 18 months from now, we will have companies reporting on their climate emission, their carbon emissions, in a manner that's audited and comparable. The day that happens, beyond the profit warning, you may have carbon warning. The day you have carbon warning, it will mean that the market will start evaluating companies on where they are on their pathway versus their commitments, which means that you resynchronize the shareholder agenda with the business agenda for that transition. So this second lever is critical to come to system change.
Emmanuel, that is exactly what we're hoping that can happen, real systemic change, and thank you for your ideas on how that's going to happen going forward and how maybe the corporate world can truly act on all the pledges that have been made. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.